we had was about a student in a school district. There's a BCBA working in a school district, and this student has pretty severe autism, but his IEP team placed him in one of the emotional support classes just because there was a space. So he wasn't in an autism support classroom. It wasn't the right fit for him. So he was verbal, but kind of just really low, pretty severe. Anyways, he engages in self-stimulatory behavior constantly, and it's very intense, difficult to interrupt. His mother has him on and off meds. She reports giving them to him constantly, but the child will say, he doesn't like them, he might not take them. When it's unstructured time like lunch, he engages in a lot of self-stimulatory behavior. They go to interrupt. He gets very aggressive. He elopes. He destroys the room while throwing desks and chairs. So it sounds really, really, really tough. He seems that, finds that self-stim is more reinforcing than anything else, and he's never gone to school before this year in kindergarten, and it's becoming difficult to manage his behaviors in public school. But admin is telling them that there isn't a school out there and there's no place for him because of his age and diagnosis. So he has to stay in this classroom. And I just want to take a big, deep breath because I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine going into a situation like that. It sounds like the BCBA knows and the teachers know and the admin know that he's not in the right classroom, but he's there. He's there. So what do you do about that, right? It's really tough. So I think the very first thing to do is take a deep breath as a behavior analyst and say, you can't fix everything. You can't, take on the world. There's certain things that just aren't going to be solved, period. And I don't mean that in a whole let's give up statement, but sometimes it can be tough. Little things, what can we do to make, this child's life a little bit easier and this teacher's life a little bit easier? If he's in the wrong classroom placement, you can't do much about that. So, really, again, looking at the child's perspective on this one, right? So, the child's verbal, talk to him about how he feels. And, he may not have the verbal ability or the comprehension to be able to say, well, I feel like this, or I'm doing this. Not sure if any of you guys caught Megan Miller's talk at the ABA Forum beginning of March, but it was amazing. She did a talk on compassionate care, and she broke things down and she said, okay, so close your eyes and imagine you are somebody with autism and, a therapist comes in, never paired, therapist walks in and says, hi, I'm so-and-so, let's get at this and let's, be at the table, what have you, clap your hands, child's screaming because he doesn't know who you are and hasn't been told that you're coming, you've interrupted iPad time and whatever else. And then, the child, you're saying, clap your hands and do this and putting demands on, the child's not doing it. And the therapist, takes his hands and claps. And the child's like, starts crying more and then starts getting aggressive. If you put yourself in the student's shoes in this one, like, okay, hold on a sec. No one warned me you were coming. I've been on my iPad for a while. You interrupted my favorite game. And now you want me to do what? I don't understand. I'm really confused. And all I want to do is bang my head against the table. And now you're grabbing my hands and you're trying to redirect me. Oh my gosh, just get out of my space. Right? Like, when you put things into that perspective, you go, wow. So going back to this kiddo at school who is engaging in some pretty severe self-stim behavior, I mean, he's in the wrong environment and he's being put in this environment with all these stimuli and he can't cope. He's not coping properly. So instead he's acting out. And as soon as someone goes in to try and stop him, he's acting out more because from his perspective, he's like, wow, I don't understand this situation. Now all of a sudden there's 3 people coming at me and so I'm going to destroy this place and I'm going to knock down the walls. So I really don't want to be here. Right. So it's a really, really, really sad situation to be in. So I'm wondering if, instead of, being there the whole day, number one, does he have to be there the whole day? Can he go for, a short period at a time? Or maybe there's, a place to go within the school so that he can have, his stim break because that's what it is. So, maybe he spends 10 minutes in the classroom and he's got to be, behave appropriately in the classroom. You've got visuals, you've practiced, here's what it is. And then you're able to go into this other room and be safe and be you. And then, come back into the other room, something like that. Now, I would imagine that there probably isn't the staff to be able to do that. But the other thing would be is just to, set up, as much structure as possible, because it sounds like a kiddo like this, that as soon as, they're getting into, he's getting into his own little world, he can't come out of it. It's just too reinforcing in his head to come out of it. So seeing how much structure you can put in, short bouts of time, seeing if you can, teach time and a place, and then also just trying to see, or trying to teach him compassion, or not teach him compassion, but like, just like, it's okay. I get it. You're feeling confused. Here's some things you can do, maybe some mindfulness and breathing, that kind of stuff as well. So anyway, that's kind of my answer to that. There's not a lot more that you can do besides those, environmental arrangements and then that stuff. And, if there's an extra staff person, it's really tough when you don't have control over the classroom and students and teachers and all that kind of stuff. So
sometimes we kind of get caught up in trying to like decrease behavior, so we're focused on like ending the stim or monitoring it, or trying to interrupt it, when in reality I think we need to focus on, like you said, like just being okay in a certain environment and getting them back to baseline. Forget about even like targeting that stim directly, and just focus on like having them be engaged, having them attend, introduce demands very slowly. I have a student who's very self-stimulatory and constantly engaged in those kind of things. He's actually also very social. And even though he has tons of stims, we kind of engage him socially, and he does like to be around people. He actually prefers groups instead of like those one-to-one settings where there's just so many more demands. So kind of finding that, that area for your student as to where they're comfortable, and not focusing as much on the stim, I think is a good approach.